I've always had generalized anxiety for at least the last few years. It's gotten worse and worse, and the pandemic made it so much worse, but that's a whole other story. Most of my anxiety is related to health. It's like always being concerned that there's something wrong with you, that you're dying, that you have a health problem. It's always worst case scenario. If you have a pain in your leg, it's a blood clot. Your left arm hurts, oh my God, I'm having a heart attack. Or if you have chest tightness, like it's just always like a worst case scenario.
I have been wanting to make this video for a long time now, probably for about a year and a half. Some of you might remember that I made a video a while back called The Worst Year of My Life. And I was a little bit cryptic. I didn't really let you guys know exactly what happened that year and why it was the worst year of my life. So I'm going to be opening up about that. But I do want to start by saying that I am so thankful that Kristi made that video and shared with her audience and hundreds of thousands of people what it's like to have anxiety, and specifically hypochondria and health anxiety. This is something that I have dealt with for pretty much a vast majority of my life. I've talked about it before on my channel, the first time I've had a panic attack, what I deal with my mental illness, and I just want to touch on that. I just think it is so incredibly important to talk about this. I don't care if you have a small platform, a massive platform, whatever the case may be, using your platform and your voice, or just your voice in general, even if you don't even have a platform, to spread awareness and to end the stigma with mental illness. This country, specifically in the United States, we have such a long way to go with resources for mental health, the accessibility, insurance coverage. That is another topic for another time, but there is a lot of work to be done. But a huge chunk of that is truly opening up the doors to have these conversations, starting these conversations, and making it so others feel comfortable as well, creating spaces for those who suffer. I just think it is so important for people to use their voice to spread awareness and to create a safe space. And that is exactly what this is right here. But I do want to touch a little bit more on what happened in my life the past couple of years. Trigger warning, there is going to be talk about mental illness, abuse, depression, anxiety, hypochondria. So if you are sensitive to those subjects, just a fair warning to you that that's what I am going to talk about. Hearing Kristi's story did bring tears to my eyes. She made a post on her community tab on YouTube talking about everything. And while I was reading it, you guys, no joke, tears just started to fall down my face. And I remember talking to my mom about it and telling my husband about it. It was just reading somebody else, especially someone who is in this space that I am in, have something that I struggle with, was just, it touched me in a way that I cannot describe. I wished I could have just reached through the screen and given Kristi such a huge hug if she ever sees this. My point being is that, girl, you are not alone. This is something that I have dealt with firsthand, again, since I was very young. I remember my first panic attack vividly. I was in 8th grade choir class. I was in a select choir group. I was standing there singing. For whatever reason, it felt like, or what seemed like, my vision went black. And boom, I just freaked out, ran out of that room, ran down to the nurse's office. I had the tingling hands, the shortness of breath, the hot, cold sweats. And I mean, this anxiety attack, or a panic attack, actually, there is a difference, lasted for literal hours. And from that point on, anxiety is just something that became a huge part of my life, panic attacks. And as I got older, it kind of morphed from a generalized anxiety to a full-blown health anxiety, which would be labeled as hypochondria, or more recently, I've discovered, and what I was diagnosed with, is somatic symptom disorder. And basically what that is that you feel something and your mind just like takes off with it. Like Kristi said, you could feel a pain in your leg, a pain in your chest, tightness, shortness of breath, anything, your arm could hurt, whatever, your back, and it's just automatically, it is the worst case scenario. And Google is your worst enemy. And the second I was able to have a device like this, and I got to that age, I started Googling symptoms. You know, what does this mean? And a lot of the times, like she also said in her video, If you've experienced health emergencies or you've had to face treatments or certain things like that, it actually becomes even scarier because the what ifs become even stronger. And that is something with me. Recently, I had to face back surgery. I've had back problems for a majority of my adult years. It finally came to head. As a lot of you know, I had a herniated disc. The disc extruded so much that it started to press against my left sciatic nerve and pretty much left me paralyzed. I could not walk. I couldn't bear any weight on my leg. I had to literally crawl to the bathroom. And I'll be totally honest with you, there were times where I couldn't even take care of myself after going to the bathroom. I couldn't shower. It was debilitating. And let me tell you, there is nothing that humbles you faster than being in that sort of pain and dealing with something like that in your life. It really awakened me in a way that was almost like a blessing in disguise. But here we are, having to face that. Also recently awakened a new beast inside of me. It strengthened me in a way, knowing that I could handle surgery. I do have a lot of fears of medication, side effects, because again, I've had side effects happen to me. I've had allergic reactions. And when you have hypochondria and health anxiety, when you have allergic reactions, you want to avoid everything. So like Christy said, you know, she was kind of worried about medications because of how it might translate through her breast milk. Well, I took an SSRI drug once and it was too high of a dose. And I ended up in the emergency room with swollen fingers and a twitching neck because there is something that's called like serotonin reuptake inhibitor syndrome, something, I don't know the exact name, but I knew that this existed and I feared that that's what was happening to me because I was presenting those symptoms. So taking medication has always been very hard for me. Now, since I have had anxiety for so long, I've been on a ton of different drugs. I've taken Lexapro, Prozac, Paxil, Celexa, Buspar, Clonazepam, Ativan, Lorazepam, you name it, I've probably taken it. They work at first, but then they stop working. And unfortunately, in my experience, because my illnesses are always anxiety-based, medications that are designed for depression don't always help with anxiety. What I found in the past helped me. I used to be quite heavy. I got myself healthier, changed my diet, started working out, and that for a really long time helped me. But just like everything else, what goes up must come down. It didn't stay as an effective means of treatment for me, unfortunately. My anxiety started to come back. It's been situational, and that leads up to what has happened the last couple of years in my life. And take a deep breath before I get into this subject because it is very hard to talk about, but I do think that I am ready to share it with you guys and let you know what has happened in the past 2 years. So in July of 2019, I got married June 8th. At the end of July, me and my sister were going to hang out together. I actually had an off day at work. She was between jobs. I had asked her, I have this Monday off. Do you want to hang out with me? And she's like, yep. You know, her kids were out of school time. She didn't bring the kids with her. She brought the youngest with her. She has 3 kids. She brought the youngest with her to pick me up, and we were going to go grab food. But we decided that we wanted to actually go for a walk first. So we were headed back to her house in the driveway, and her middle son was sitting in the yard by himself. And we're like, that's kind of odd. What's going on? So we, I walk in the kitchen, and it's super quiet. Now, I knew her husband was there, and I knew that her daughter was there as well. They were in the house. And I walked in, it was quiet, and it was kind of early-ish in the morning. It was around like 10 a.m. So we just thought maybe people went back to sleep, whatever. So my sister walks in behind me and I hear a shriek. And this feels like a blur. And I kind of look and she comes running out and she's just freaking out. And I'm stunned because I'm just standing there like, what's going on? Well, her husband came out running behind her. The next thing I know, he's like trying to grab her. And she says, Crystal, you need to come outside. So I like walk past and we go to the side of her house. And she basically told me, try not to get choked up, that her husband, the father of her daughter, was abusing her daughter. And she walked in on it. I felt sick to my stomach. My sister was on the phone with 911 immediately. Her two sons were out there. I directed them to just sit in the grass. I said, please stay out here. I was the one that had to hold it together because her other two children were there. Now, mind you, her husband, the children's father, is still in the house with the daughter. So I'm freaking out that something's going to happen. And so she's on the phone with 911. Before I know, the police show up. A detective is with. I mean, it was like, boom. The detective walked up to me and he said, how old is the little girl? And I said, she is 11. They walked in the house. They took my sister to the back of the house. I was standing on the side talking to another one of the police officers because the detective had entered the home with other police officers, and they took him out. He was in handcuffs, and then brought my niece out. And obviously she was beyond shook up. These are things that you don't think would ever happen in your own family. And the whole time, you know, I'm trying to keep it together. I had to call my parents and inform them. I had to let my husband know. I called my other sister to let her know what was happening. It was the course of events that just changed my life and my family's life forever. The trial has passed. It actually did end up getting pushed back because of the panoramic that happened shortly after that. But he did get sentenced to 19 years. It came out during this, before all of this, you know, as we discovered everything, that he was also abusing my nephew as well, who is a year younger than my niece. I have no words, and it has been very hard. Obviously, it has affected me in many ways. I was there. You know, I've been very close with my sister and my niece and nephews. They mean the world to me. It has just been a very turbulent time. Obviously, with everything that happened and my anxiety and everything got so much worse. It has been so turbulent mentally. I have reached out. I have been to counseling a little bit. I've talked to a therapist, but like Kristi said, it's really hard. You have to find a therapist that you truly vibe with. So that happened, you know, dealing with that tragedy happening in my family, and then everything happening with my health after that. Like I said, my anxiety took a decline. My mental health was in the dumps. I ended up in the back of ambulances more time than I can count with chest pain, just overwhelming amounts of stress, other things that were happening in my personal life, things that have happened with jobs, and then overall, the fact that months after this traumatic experience, the panoramic happened, and it just feels like it's been nonstop. It has just been this heavy cloud, and I have tried my best to just stay above it all, and then my back happened, and then having to face surgery and my anxiety from that, it just has been extremely difficult. And I think more recently than not, the stress and anxiety has hit me so hard. And even just talking about this right now really does feel like a weight is being lifted off me, because I've wanted to talk about it for so long. I just wasn't ready to. And right now it was hard enough. But I think watching Kristi's video and watching her just come out and talk about her story and what was happening with her just really inspired me to sit down, because I know for a fact, I've told other people my story, and sadly enough, I've had people tell me it happened to them, what happened to my niece, and it makes me sick. And I just can't imagine the things that children are facing that we just don't even think about every single day. That's kind of where I've been at mentally. That's why it's been very hard for me to even stick to uploads and basically regaining my life back. Obviously, I wasn't sitting here like, oh my God, worrying about YouTube. Obviously, my family is so much more important to me, but it is hard though, because you lose yourself. I felt like the last 2 years, I truly have lost myself. I don't feel like me. And I know that a lot of that can come from you are growing into a new person, and obviously the things that you experience and the things that you go through shape who you are in such a way that can change the course of your life, and you almost have to embrace those things. And I think that that's kind of where I'm at. I am discovering a new me. I have a new outlook on things and where I want to put my priorities and really what matters in life. To be honest, I mean, it really does humble you and puts a lot of things into perspective. Unlike Kristi, I have not been successful quite yet in finding a way to manage my anxiety. Last winter, my panic attacks got so bad, if I can find it on my phone, the data from this, I was up to pacing to the tune of anywhere from 15,000 to 30,000 steps in a day, because when you have panic and anxiety, it's adrenaline. So you have to walk to get that adrenaline out. And I would spend hours on the phone with my mother. Thank God for her, because I don't know where I would be if it wasn't for my mom. She is like literally the strongest person I know. She deals with an autoimmune disorder. She has rheumatoid arthritis that has been ravaging her body for decades. And I don't know where she finds the strength. She is always positive. She finds happiness in the little things. So shout out to you, Mom, if you're watching this, not to make you cry or anything, but you know, she is an inspiration to me as well, and I would be so lost. Like, she is the epitome of a mother. Like, she would sacrifice herself for her children at any given moment. And not that I want her to do that to the point of exhausting herself. Mama, we need you here. But she just needs to know, if she's watching this again, that she is an extraordinary mother. And again, her children would be so lost without her. And it's hard. She does take on a lot as well. Mental illness is something that does run in the family. You know, my immediate family deals with it. My sisters deal with it. It pretty much goes down the line of family members with a lot of these mental illnesses. So I guess my point was to just finally sit down and open up to you guys about this. I know I didn't do my makeup while talking about it, but that would have been far too distracting. Since it is technically 25 days of eyeshadow, this is day 3. I did use the At Forest Sight palette that Rawbeautykristi did in collaboration with ColourPop. I don't think this palette is available anymore, but I mean, it is absolutely beautiful. I know, weird transition into makeup, but I just wanted to point out that everything that's on my eyes is from this palette, and I thought it was basically perfect timing to use this palette since her video inspired me. I just want everyone to know, including Christy, that you are not alone. There's so many people that deal with this. It is a very hard illness to navigate. Very, very difficult. I mean, all mental illness is. None of it is fun. None of it is easier than the other. And yeah, I just want to thank you guys so much for your support throughout the years. If you stuck with this channel and you stayed subscribed through my wild uploads and my ideas and changing things up and trying to find my way here with the way that my life changes and everything else, it means the world to me. So many people reached out to me during my back and when I uploaded my back issues, and when I uploaded that initial video where I said that this was the worst year of my life. It's kind of funny because I actually got some asshole comments. One woman commented on there, she goes, well, if you're not going to tell us what happened, why would you even upload this video at all? Go write in your diary. Like, how do people speak to people like this? Like, I honestly could never. I could never go to another human being who is trying to express their heartache in a way that feels comfortable for them and say, go write in your diary somewhere. Honestly, if that person still watches my channel, I doubt it, but fuck you. I'm gonna go ahead and say it. Screw you. You lack empathy, and I honestly feel bad for people like that. You have so much hate in your heart, and I hope you figure that out. So let's just say that. But anyways, again, if you are having issues, I'm going to try my best to put down some resources in the description box so that people have resources, because I have been there. I even now feel like, am I ever going to get out of this? Again, just like Christy said, you feel like it's never going to end, that you're going to feel like this forever. And I know that I've gotten past it before, and I need to remind myself that this is not forever. I will get through this. You will get through it. Hang on. I want to thank you guys so much for watching today. I love you so, so much. And I will see you tomorrow for day 4 of 25 days of eyeshadow. Mwah. Bye, guys.